I was answering that question, I was listing all these things, and I think about where I came from. I got in the real estate business back when I was 23 years old. I was living in Georgia, and I up and decided just to pack all my stuff and move to Texas. I wasn't doing anything right over there. So I decided to pack up my stuff, move to Texas, and get my real estate license. One thing about me is I didn't know anything about real estate. I didn't come from a real estate family, no background, nothing like that. I just knew you can make money in real estate. So I planned to sell real estate for a year and then move to LA. That was my big plan. Well, for any of you who have been in the business longer than a week, probably know that that wasn't realistic, but I didn't know. And I literally remember this one day in my business. I had finally got my first listing, and I was, getting ready, put my little suit on, that same suit that I always wore everywhere because it was the only one that I had, to go host this open house. Now, one thing about this home is it was my first listing, and it wasn't selling. And I was holding an open house in there every single weekend. So this was probably around my 10th or 11th open house for the same home. As I'm walking out of my one-bedroom apartment, I grab my keys, I walk to the front door, and my electricity turns off. It just turned off on me. Nonetheless, I said, well, I still gotta go do this open house. I'll worry about that later. I thought it was a glitch until I walked outside and saw everybody else's on. That bill will get paid whenever. And so I drove across town. I drove from Arlington all the way to Oak Cliff, drove across town to go host this home open. So I'm sitting there in this large, older, vacant home, no furniture. It was kind of cold, and it was just me. That first hour went by, nobody came in. That second hour went by, still nobody came in. And by that third hour, I knew nobody else was going to come in this open house. Again, this was like my 13th time holding it open. And I remember walking to the front door, and I turned the lock on that door, even though the open house wasn't over. And I fell to my knees and had a full-on breakdown. I'm talking bawling my eyes out. How did I let it get here? I moved across the country, told all these people I was going to sell real estate. I was going to be this big success. And here I am in this open house that nobody's coming into with my lights turned off at home, not even knowing how I'm going to get them turned back on. And so I had to make a decision at that point. I had to really think about, how did it get here? What did I do wrong? I didn't feel like I had necessarily did anything wrong, but I didn't necessarily do everything right. But here's why I'm excited. I'm excited because here I am, all these years later. I have 6 companies, 6 very good companies. I'm a published author. I've been featured in several magazines nationally. I get to travel the world speaking, and I've built my brand to over 500,000 subscribers, followers, purchasers, whatever you want to call them, because of that one moment. And so what I want to do today is I want to tell you those big 3 things that I did and that I learned from that moment that completely turned things around. And the cool thing about this is all of you can do it too. Because I'll tell you, I wasn't educated. I had just moved to the area. I didn't even know the streets. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. And so you asked me all those years ago if I would be here sharing my story with you all. No, remember, my plan was only for a year. Okay? But some things had to change, and I had to learn some things. So I'm going to share those here with you today. Now, what I'm not going to do is, I am not going to change your business. I'm not even going to tell you to change your business. What I'm going to share with you are some things that you can do in your business to enhance and grow what you're currently already doing. Because the cool thing about this is everybody in here has a brand, and I'm confident that everybody in here is good at what they do. Is anybody not good at what you do? Perfect. Perfect. Everybody's good at what they do. But let's just be real. I also know that everybody has not unlocked their full potential yet. Right? Everybody has not unlocked their greatness yet. One thing about us as entrepreneurs, even if we don't want to admit it, we're great at making excuses. But here's the thing about our excuses. They're very educated excuses. They're not those excuses that are like, oh, I'm tired, oh, I'm lazy. None of that. We make educated excuses. Oh, that's him, that's not me. Or I'm new. Or I haven't sold that much. Or I'm the best, so I have to do everything. Guess what? That could be an excuse for why your business isn't scaling. Because you're the one doing everything. Everybody wants to work with me. Not necessarily true. Even though you're great, everybody's great. But that's an excuse. That's an educated entrepreneur excuse. So when it comes to building your entrepreneur brand, I also want you to know that when I say brand, I'm not speaking of what you do in your business or the company that you work for, how much you've sold, what you're a specialist in. That's not your brand. Guess what your brand is? You. Your brand is you. Back in that moment, I was putting everything, all of my lights being off, nobody coming in this home, nobody knowing me, all of that. I was putting it and making excuses, trying to justify it. Well, I'm new. Nobody knows me. I don't know real estate. All those are excuses because guess what? When I got my first client, when I got my second client, I was still new, didn't know real estate, didn't barely know what I was doing. So that was just an excuse. Okay, so number one with building your brand as an entrepreneur is you have to make yourself an authority in your industry. Okay? I'm not speaking in your marketplace. I'm not just talking about DFW. I'm talking about an authority in your industry. So when I was sitting up here a few minutes ago, you remember I said I get to travel the world speaking. I have people reaching out to me from different countries, things like that. That is because I have positioned myself as an authority in a whole industry. Not just my city. This isn't just about putting a billboard up. This is about people thinking of you as that person in your whole industry. And so I got to work. I had to make that happen. Well, I knew that I was a brand new agent. I knew nobody knew me. I knew not much, really. So here's the beautiful part about this. I get to write the narrative. What do I want people to know me as? How do I want them to see me? How many of you know seeing is believing? They were seeing because I was positioning myself in a certain way, right? I wasn't trying to copy anybody. I wasn't trying to do what somebody else is doing. I was simply putting myself out there. One thing about the consumers these days, most consumers' purchasing decisions are coming from influencers. They're coming from influencers. How many of you know a real estate agent? There's a lot of real estate agents out there. How many of you are tired of cold calling? But it's real, right? There's a lot of everybody in every industry out there. But you also know those big names, don't you? You know those speakers that are on stages. You know those people that you watch on TV or that you see on social media. You're always seeing them. You probably even look at them as an authority. Well, they're not doing anything that you can't do. And I realized that early on. I said, hey, we all got the same license, and someone thinks that I'm new. Why are they thinking that I'm new? Because I'm positioning myself as new? I'm looking like I'm new? I'm acting like I'm new? Probably. So let's change that. Let's rewrite that script, rewrite that narrative. And one thing about me, and I'm sure a lot of you out here, I'm one of those people where I will figure anything out. I will figure anything out. If somebody tells me that I can't do something but I'm seeing it done, believe me, I am going to figure out how to do it. So I wasn't intimidated or worried about a certain client saying anything or not having all these deals under my belt. That wasn't my worry. My worry was people not knowing me. How long was I going to go with no network? Okay? How long was I going to go without people starting to call me because they actually want to work with me and not because I just annoyed them over the phone so they finally said yes? And a lot of businesses like that. No matter what you do, this isn't just about you as a real estate agent. This is about you as an entrepreneur. Because your brand, like we established earlier, it's you. So when you establish this brand around you, you being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what you're doing. People are going to support you. Okay? It doesn't matter what you're doing. People will follow you. They will go where you're going. Let's talk about support right quick, though. Because some of you think that people are supporting you, but they're not really supporting you. They're giving you a shot. They're trying you out. You're their friend, so they're giving you some business. Or, like me, you've annoyed the crap out of them over the phone, so they finally said yes. Okay? Who in here is an investor? Awesome. That's a trick question. We're all investors. Everybody in this room is an investor. You invest in yourself. Obviously, you're sitting here. You invest in yourself. You invest in other people. You invest in your business. But let me ask you, who's investing in you? Who's investing in you? Right? You're constantly making deposits into everybody else. People are withdrawing all of your information, all of your time, all of your energy. And at the end of the day, you feel tired. You feel depleted. You've helped everybody else. But who's making those deposits into your bank? Right? That's where that brand comes about. Because you know that you've made it when it comes to your brand and establishing yourself as an entrepreneur, when people want to deposit real money in your pockets because of your brand. Not because of what you do. Chasen, I want to pay you $1,000 just to teach me. Y'all, people pay me anywhere from $250 to up to $1,000 just for a phone call. 30-minute phone call, an hour phone call. But guess what? I'm going to tell you, there's people out there that are way smarter than me. There's people out there that have sold way more than me, that have done way more than me. But there's something about me, something about how I positioned myself, my brand, that makes someone want to deposit into me. And that's where we got to take your brand. So that first thing, positioning yourself as an authority. Okay, everybody needs to know you. Not who you work for, not your logo, none of that. They need to know you. Second, you have to operate within a niche. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean, operate within a niche? That basically means stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Here's the beautiful part about staying in your lane. I'm going to tell you the beautiful part, and I'll tell you what happens in reality. The beautiful part is there are people out there that want to support you for who you are, for what you have to offer them that's up here, for how you can help them. There are people out there that will support you just to be in the same room as you. But here's the reality of what happens. We look at everybody else and all the other entrepreneurs and all of their brands, and we try to become them. We try to do what they're doing, look like them, sound like them, record the same video, and then you wonder why people aren't following or people aren't supporting you in that same way. It's because they don't need another one of them. They're great at what they do, but that's not you, and that's not what you want to try to be. The cool thing about that is, all of those people, Grant Cardone, we can name them all. They're great inspirations for me. They're great inspirations for people, but they are not competition. Okay? And you have to be that confident in yourself to just stand alongside those people. Your brand has to be just as strong. Your entrepreneur mentality, your strength has to be just as strong to stand in line with those people. You know, mine hasn't always been like that. I told you all that I'm an advisor for a few companies. Well, one of my larger companies that I'm on their advisory board is the Dallas Mavericks, right? Even to this day, I don't know how that came, well, I know, but how that came about blows my mind. But guess what? It's all related to how I position myself and my brand. I walked in our first meeting there. I walked in our first meeting. I've been on their board for probably around 5 seasons now. I walked in the first meeting, and y'all, there were some big names sitting around that table. Big names. Superintendents and police chiefs and just big names in the Dallas area sitting around that table. And then I sat there. Guess what? I didn't feel like I belonged.
Imposter syndrome.
That imposter syndrome. I didn't feel like I belonged. And I had a conversation with a few people, and all of them said the same thing. They reached out to you for who you are. They could have easily saw or went and got anybody else, any other real estate related person in this whole city, but they chose me to be that one. So I did belong there. And these people, I was not competing with them. We were now on that same stage.
That's right.
On that same level. Same thing for everybody in here. A lot of you haven't pushed yourself out there publicly, even though you know you need to. You need to push yourself out there. A lot of you haven't because you don't feel like you can compete. You don't feel like people are going to watch you or people are going to listen to you. But guess what? This was a big lesson I learned. You never know who's watching. You never know who's watching. And I've been constantly surprised at who's reached out to me about anything, magazines, a speaking event. I've been so surprised because I'm like, you watch my stuff? I didn't think I was doing it for you. But guess what? I'm operating out of a niche. I'm staying in my lane, and I'm doing it very well. So when people, companies, clients, opportunities are out there looking for someone that talks like you talk, that walks like you talk, that has an opinion like you have, they're going to reach out. But unfortunately, you may be one of those people right now that are standing in the shadows. And there's a lot of people out there like that, which is a major advantage if you're hearing my voice right now, because I'm telling you, there is major opportunity for you. The entrepreneur brand is the thing right now. Have you noticed there's a lot of people you see doing big things, but you don't necessarily know what they do? What's your job? How are you making your money? You don't necessarily know. Why? Because they position themselves as an entrepreneur. Remember when I was sitting in that chair, I said, whatever you need, I can get it done? Because I'm not defined by a title, a role, a company. I'm an entrepreneur, and I know how to make stuff happen. And I can help people that way. I've been able to help a lot of people that way. Okay, so operate within that niche. And then lastly, number three, you have to shut everything out and everybody else out. Okay? There's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of distractions, a lot of people doing a lot of different things, a lot of people pulling at you. Remember we talked about those deposits and withdrawals? You have to know with this that this is truly about you. What you want people to see, what you want them to say, what you want them to think, you control all of that. You literally control all of that. I can take one photo right now and people think I'm rich. Right? I could be eating at a fast food restaurant and people think I'm broke. You know? And so it comes down to, what do I want people to think? Well, I don't necessarily want people to think about money when they think about me. I don't want them to think I'm expensive, but I don't want them to think that I'm cheap either. So when I'm putting together that narrative, it's like, who do I want to attract? What do I want them to think? Who is going to spend money with me? Who's going to invite me out? Who's going to give me an opportunity past my name? Who's going to do that? That's that person that I'm talking to, that I'm doing it for. And everybody else, I tune them out. There's been a lot of other speakers, right? And I'm sure there's been speakers that have talked about business credit. I'm sure there's been people who have talked about branding or marketing. But guess what? I'll resonate with somebody, right? And that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you, I'm not the cheapest. I'm not the most available person. I may not be the best at it. I'm not the most experienced. I'm not any of those things. And I'm not trying to be those things. If you don't look at me in that way, you're not who I'm doing it for. But there's an incredible amount of people that will look at you in that way, that will want to support you, that will want to buy into your brand, that will want to do all of those things to position yourself. Remember, this is about that entrepreneur brand. You're positioning yourself as an entrepreneur, so it'll come down to whatever you want to do, you can do it. And you have people there. 500,000 followers across my platforms, that didn't come overnight. I didn't have like a viral hit. I didn't have anything like that. I had my same story that I told you all at the beginning. I had my same career that everybody was watching, that they can look up on Zillow or whatever. I had all that same stuff. But I was able to build this. And I didn't build it off any hacks or tricks or paid ads or anything like that. I built it off of authenticity. Because I'm comfortable with myself. I'm comfortable with that. I've gotten really good at knowing who's for me and who's not. And here's the thing, I'm not trying to please those people who aren't for me, and you shouldn't either. That's one of the biggest things that holds us back. We're trying to please everybody else, and not the people who are literally raising their hands, hoping that you would share your knowledge. Or your family watching you and supporting you, saying, "You're so smart. Why haven't you done this yet?" Or you've been talking about this business for so long. Do it. A podcast, a book. I'm sure you all have been talking about those things for yourself. Even a video, a post, learning Facebook, You've probably been talking about it for a while now. And you have people that are sitting there on the sidelines waiting for you. They're the people who you're doing it for. You're not doing it for those people who might not like your voice, or like how you look, like what you say. It's not who you're doing it for. So, one thing that you need to do to start growing your brand as an entrepreneur is you have to post. You have to post on social media, and you have to post often. Minimum 2 to 3 times a day. Minimum. Here's the thing about posting, and you've probably heard or read those articles and blogs where they're like, post 90% personal, 10% business. No. Doesn't do anything for anybody. Because guess what? You're an entrepreneur. That's personal. My business, yeah, I have companies. If you want me to do 10% of that, it's fine. But guess what? That other 90% is still going to show me as an entrepreneur. If I'm taking pictures with my family, guess what that post is saying? I'm out here working hard, building these businesses, growing as an entrepreneur so that me and my family can do things like this. Still branding myself as that entrepreneur, as that business owner. But 2 to 3 times a day minimum. I'll tell you the number that I'm at, but remember, I'm not your competition. I'm your inspiration, okay? We post no less than 30 times a day. I'm gonna get to that. 30 times a day. Okay? Why? Why? If you all knew how these algorithms work, do you think everything that you put out there and post everybody sees? No. And I know that. I'm a business person. I know that. So why would I only post 1 time a day or 2 times a day if I know that a majority of the people won't even see this? So therefore, we post no less than 30 times a day. Okay? So you have to post, and you have to post often. Next thing you want to do is research trends. Okay? Trends. Think about trends, right? They've always been around us. We've seen them in TV. We've seen them in movies. Like now the big trend is what? Remaking a lot of the older movies. Okay? Those are all trends. Well, trends also happen on social media. But unfortunately, I hate to say this, a lot of people who are learning social media are learning from people who are not even big on social media. They're talking about trends from years ago. So you have to research trends. Okay? Now, what does that look like? It looks like you getting on whatever platform, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all those, Instagram, and simply typing in that search box whatever your niche is. Okay, so if it's real estate agent, entrepreneur, investor, builder, lender, whatever that niche is, type it in and see what pops up. You're going to see videos already doing very well in your niche. What does that tell you? That tells you this type of content, this topic, this video, people are consuming it. They want to consume it. They're giving you proof. Okay? No longer do you need to sit down and think of all these topics and ideas and all of that. Oh, I don't know what to record a video about. Just get on there and look. That is the easiest way to start building your brand.